There was a lot more creators. We had a 300% increase on the platform of creators talking about Cannes. You can definitely see the advertising industry like taking creators more seriously.
The third edition of our print publication, the Fohr Almanac of Influence, is coming out very soon. You can request your own free physical copy via the link below. This is a publication that is completely written, designed, and edited in-house by 4 employees, and it's a great read if I do say so myself. So hope y'all can get it in your hands soon. Okay, cheers. Have a good one.
Negronis with Nord, episode 104. Why am I drinking a High Life and in sunglasses? Because it's 86 degrees in my office right now. If you are a longtime listener of this show, you'll know that the HVAC in our office is a ancient piece of shit. It constantly breaks, and so I have been for the last 2 days harassing our poor HVAC man to try and come out here. It is not fixed yet, so I do not have a suit on. I'm drinking a High Life. It feels like I'm at the beach, so I'm just gonna pretend that I am still at Cannes. That is right, people. We were at Cannes last week, the festival of creativity where nothing creative happens. If you don't know, it is basically the Oscars, Fashion Week, Coachella, all for advertising people wrapped up into one. It's the biggest advertising event of the year. In all seriousness, winning a Cannes Lion as an agency or somebody that works on a brand is career defining. Much like winning an Oscar, it can kind of like change your career. It won't mean you're not still in advertising. You know, it is certainly not as cool as winning an Oscar or like winning a stage at the Tour de France, but it's a big fucking deal, okay? And now 15 to 20,000 advertising execs, salespeople, agency people descend on Cannes, France. I don't know, what do? They drink rosé, they spend their company's money. And I told Aaron I would be nice. And look, there's a lot of interesting things there. Like all these companies have these stages set up on the beach. Everyone's doing talks all day. They have, huge celebrities, podcasters, influencers, execs, CMOs speaking all over. There's talks happening up in the hills in all of these villas. You're in Cannes, which is nice. There's a serendipity to just walking down the street, and I bumped into so many old friends. I met so many new people. You could be sitting at the bar with somebody at 2 a.m, find out they're the CMO of Pepsi or something, right? And so there's that thing about Cannes that is cool, right? And this year, there was a lot more creators. We had a 300% increase on the platform of creators talking about Cannes year over year. I saw a lot of creators. I met a lot of people. You can definitely see the advertising industry like taking creators more seriously. We have always said that influencer marketing will be the dominant form of brand communication, that influencer marketing is moving to the center of marketing and the way that brands communicate. In some ways we're starting to see that. We're starting to see brands take this more seriously. Outside of AI, I would say creators and influencer marketing was a pretty dominant topic throughout the week. I don't think that many people, had very interesting things to say about it. But for the industry, I think that's a really positive thing. 50% of the global ad spend was at this festival, and they're talking a lot about creators. And so I walk away continuing to feel super confident about the future of this industry, about y'all's place in this industry. And I think that Cannes will become more and more of a kind of consumer-facing event, almost like Fashion Week, which started as a industry event for editors, for buyers, and for the house's best customers to see the new season. And over the course of a couple of years, back in the early 2010s, it turned into a, fight for attention. And these brands putting on more elaborate shows. And over time, the editors and the buyers getting more ignored, and the influencers and the people with an audience being catered to more. You could already start to see that at Cannes. And I think many creators, if you haven't been, you probably will think about going. You probably will go over the next couple of years. And I think it can be really valuable. A couple of the larger creators that I talked to there said that they had just met so many great brand people. They had made connections they would never get somewhere else. And I think as a creator, you can go to Cannes and be like pretty high status, and you're someone that like people want to talk to, unlike going and like being a salesperson, which is much of the festival is people such as myself who are trying to track down brand people and get them to give them money. And so people would be very excited to see you. I do feel like Cannes for me brought up some feelings that I know creators have around Fashion Week. There's very much a like, who's going to the good parties and who's not? Are you invited to this event or are you not? Again, how much status do you have here? Are you one of the cool kids or are you not one of the cool kids? And I know over the years I've heard a lot of creators talk about the fact that they had stopped going to Fashion Week because they felt, all this pressure and they felt like really shitty about themselves because they were flying themselves out to Paris or something and then they were only getting invites to 2 shows and they felt a little embarrassed and they felt a little less than. For us showing up first time I was at Cannes, we had competitors there spending $5 million on activations to try and pull brand people in. And you can feel a bit small and you can feel a bit like an outsider. I was sitting on Salesforce Beach, which is probably 2 of the saddest words in the English language, if I'm going to be completely honest. I may feel like I wish Fohr had shown up in a bigger way and maybe we'd spent more money, but that I don't have to do it in the same way that everyone else is. I think for me, it was a good reminder that, again, along your journey, you can lose sight of why you started, of what your purpose is, what your meaning is, what your why is. I left Cannes feeling like, I want to have more intellectual courage. I want to say more of what I think. Remember that if you're feeling insecure or anxious, if you're feeling like an outsider, to remember why you do it, to focus on your audience, the people that you actually really care about impressing, which again, for influencers, I hope is your audience. For brands, I hope is your customers. And fuck the rest, Anyway, I think this is not what I started out this episode to talk about. Oh, wait, 1 second. Is this HVAC guy? Hello? Hi. Who's this? No, thank you. Cheers. I have no idea. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't even know what on deck is. That would be something my CFO did. I don't know. Sorry. Salespeople. Okay, hit me.
What was the subject of your favorite talk?
Hunter and Tara Woodhall were on Sue Bird and Mega Rapinoe's podcast, a little live recording. I love them. I think they have such a interesting and unique view on how a relationship can help you achieve your goals, and they have such a unique partnership. I always love hearing them talk.
Did you see anyone interesting, and who was the most interesting person? Did you get to see will.i.am?
Well, I wouldn't say will.i.am is interesting. I exchanged some backslaps with Patrick Schwarzenegger.
Best thing you learned?
Listen, I learned a renewed appreciation for air conditioning.
The brand you were most impressed with, be it small or large?
I spent some time at the Collins house. Collins is probably the best design and branding agency in the country right now. They had a villa up in the hills. Very nice. Had a real point of view. Talks were pretty good. Quite toasty. We were all crammed inside because it was too hot outside. But good people, great vibes. Founder was fun. I think they did a good job. They seem like they do really interesting work as well.
What's a hot take for today? Could be anything.
Well, look, I think in pursuit of intellectual honesty and being more open, I did not vote for Zoran. I also want to say I did not rate Cuomo, so don't think I'm some sort of sociopath. I am, staying optimistic about the energy and about his character and about his care for New Yorkers. I hope he does well. But I think you're going to see a lot of bandwagoning that will claim that some part of the victory. Wait for the Pod Save America boys to be like, we did this, That's my hot take, is that we can disagree and still hope for a really positive and lovely outcome. And in this case, I 100% hope I am wrong. I do not want to stand in my government-owned grocery store buying rotten fruit in 2 years saying, I told Aaron, I knew it. That is one thing I will be happy to be wrong about. As always, ask your questions, like and subscribe, and we will be here almost every week with some form of regularity to answer your questions and talk all about influencer marketing. Thank you. Bye. First of all, will.i.am has created some of the worst art.
That is not
some
true.
Of the worst
You're going to be
songs.
nice. Who's interesting?
Some of the worst songs on God's green earth. Tonight's gonna be a good night, whatever that song is. It is truly my least favorite song in the world. I actually think people that go to weddings would thank me if
What's
I got
next?
rid of
West
that song.
Virginia?
Sure.